recap.
Well, we were in the Flint Hills, and we decided to first thing go hit a pub and unwind. Durbin accused Roughstool of not being the chosen one and challenged him to a drinking contest, which Roughstool wound up winning, thereby proving once and for all forever to Durbin that Roughstool is the chosen one. No further arguments.
Does Roughstool remember it? Or not, Durbin remembered that?
Remains to be seen.
Meanwhile, Brachius had been casting legend lore on a shard of what turned out to be the Crystal Tower of Nabemba from his own universe, where he saw the Empire being overrun by the Vermiurge and people being transformed into those Vermiurge warriors. So he immediately had a mental breakdown and went catatonic. As his spirit sort of went off on its own to try to make sense of all this, the spirit of Breaker Maxwell took over his body and came back and sang a little return song.
I'm not exactly sure. Brachius is just sitting here, not moving, or anything.
Hey, Brachius! Roughstool yells and starts shaking him.
Probably also notice he's no longer breathing.
Oh, good heavens.
You're not doing it right. Get out of the way. And he shoves him away, and he's like, Brachius, Brachius. And then Tobias starts giving him CPR.
So as Tobias is giving him CPR, he doesn't really react. His body is more or less just limp and lifeless. But you do see like the runes on his arms that were glowing bright blue begin to fade and go out. But then you see a green light begins to form in his eyes and begins to glow brighter and brighter. And he starts to float up off the floor and lands back on his feet. And he reaches down and picks up the Bandora and looks at his hand. And then he begins to play it. But this time he was just plucking at it before. This time you could see lights and the Bandora begins to give off sound. And he goes, you start to hear music.
Brachius, still alive, new body, test drive. I've been dealing with some things like Gabrielle and Bing. This Elandra couldn't breathe much last night. I'm sorry, he's fine. Brachius just needs a little free time. Think he just needs a little me time. Little break from this world and the slime and grime, yeah. You see, he had a breakdown. Thoughts telling him all thoughts getting too loud. Had to seek a refuge when he found out something funny had gone on back in his house. Started thinking that he should maybe move out. You know, pack his car, take a new route. Tune up his yard, get the hells out. Hang up his heart, let it air out. He's been learning what was his world's fate. Empire burning, Vermiurge desecrate, leaving his burdens while they took a few with them. All them dead apes. Looking at the view here, this concerns me. Picking up my cues, right? I'm quite nervous. Hate it that I lost life, things are blurry. Things might hurt me, probably gonna be a long journey. It's worth it though, cold world out here. Kids, grab your coats. Been a minute now, I know that I'm back to roam. Looking for the antidote as I crack the code. Pretty vivid, I admit it, I'm in ape-fish mode. Don't need pity given to me, but I can't condone. Talking down to me, I'ma have to crack your nose for cracking jokes. Looking for the map to hope, you seen it? Been making a whole lot of changes. Daddy came back as an ape, it was painless. I get scared when I think of the rages of Vermiurge wrath and the lives that's in cages. That's when I start to get anxious. That's when my thoughts can be dangerous. Hope that my fears ain't contagious. I drown in self-hatred, forget what I'm saying, and what was I saying? Oh, ain't that something? Break a comb and you ain't seen me coming. If I come back like it ain't nothing, got a taste of the fame, then I kick the bucket, rose back up cause I didn't want it, wipe my face, dust off my sonics, Vermiurge trying to push my buttons, I said don't touch it, but they touched it. I could be critical, never typical, intricate with every syllable, I'm a criminal, into predicament, but never political, pretty visual. Even if you hate it, I make you feel like you're in it though. You call me what you wanna, never call me forgettable. Dude even thought I could never swim in the kiddie pool. Way that I've been singing is Elvin Honey, it's beautiful. Wondering how long I'll be stuck as an ape here though. Could spread my name worldwide, doesn't mean much though since my body died. See, we've all got something that we've trapped inside that we try to suffocate, you know, hoping it dies. Try to hold it underwater, but it always survives. Then it comes up out of nowhere like an evil surprise. Then it hovers over you to tell you millions of lies. You don't relate to that? You're not as crazy as I. The point I'm making is the mind is a powerful place. What you feed it can affect you in a powerful way. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, but it's not always safe. Just hang with me, this'll only take a moment, okay? Just think about it for a second. If you look at your face, every day when you get up and think you'll never be great, you'll never be great. Not because you're not, but the hate will always find a way to cut you up and murder your faith. I've been developing, take a look at the benefits. Nothing to meddle with, I could never be delicate. Am I even relevant? That depends how you measure it. Take a measurement to bag it up and give me the evidence. Pretty evident, dependable, can never be tentative. I'm a gentleman, depending on if I think you're negative. Pretty elegant, but not afraid to tell you to get a grip. Proper etiquette, I keep away from bedevilment. It's that time again. Better grab some balloons and invite your friends. Break a Maxwell's back, so strap 'em in. Look at me, everybody, my white ape grin. On a road right now that I can't predict. Tell me tone that down, but I can't resist. Y'all know my sound, better raise your fist. The songs begin, Breaker's back and he's in your midst.
Then we traveled to the Casa del Longfellow. I forget what the actual name was. But there we met the disagreeable caretaker, the cousin of Durbin, Cornelius, who seemed as if he was just put out that Durbin was back and reasserting control over the whole house. We went out the next day and bought some armor and supplies, and then wound up meeting with the town council, who had to give us access to the deep roads. They were essentially split on that and not going to give us access, but at the last minute, some mysterious figure impersonating one of the councilmen came in late.
So, dear, didn't I?
And in a strange accent said that he supported our going in, so we therefore won the motion. On the way back to the Longfellow house, we met with Gogo Days, Dr. Gogo Days, who, as it turns out, was the astronaut we had met previously. And he informed us that all of our blue light specials and related weaponry was all defective and about to fall apart or explode. So we gave them all to him so he could go and fix them. And Breaker also gave him the Vermeerge gun, which may or may not have been on the verge of breaking down, since it is the Vermeerge version and not necessarily made by Sindoom Industries. Then I think we'd picked up all of our stuff, and we were going to head down into the deep roads.
We did also meet up, stayed for a while at House Longfellow, and we had kind of extended discourse with Cornelius, which was Durbin's cousin. And Cornelius was not terribly thrilled to see us. That was pretty fun.
This is true.
You also ran into the tiefling, who seemed to be very calm for some reason, and wanted to go talk to Fichet about the Wand of Orcus, and was very disappointed when Breaker turned her down. So you guys,
That's true. The other part of the recap is from prior sessions, we learned that the Wand of Orcus is somewhere in the deep roads. And we were invited on behalf of the forces of hell to go and retrieve it. But the forces of Asmodeus in particular, the tiefling we met was clearly working for Levistus and also wanted us to get the wand, thinking that Fichet is really on her side, as opposed to that being an elaborate or not that elaborate ruse.